Hello friends. Today, I am going to tell you a story that is unique and interesting in itself. This is a story that gives a lot of entertainment to the audience due to its balanced screenplay and acting. This film is Minority Report, whose director is Steven Spielberg, and the main character is played by Tom Cruise. The film's plot centers around a trio of psychics, who see future images of crimes yet to be committed. Here is the story. The year 2054 finds American crime, particularly murder, at an all-time level. Pre-crime, a new task force established by the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C., enables a specifically designated team to proactively prevent murders before they are even attempted. They accomplish this by way of three mentally changed people known as precogs, or precognitives, who possess the ability to look into the future. An automated system processes two painted wooden balls, one with the name of the victims and one with the name of the perpetrators engraved into it. When the precogs detect that a murder is about to occur, because each ball is unique in terms of shape and grain, the system is completely impervious to tampering. The type of murder that will occur is indicated by the color of the ball. For example, a brown ball denotes a premeditated murder, which the precogs may identify up to 4 days in advance of the crime. A crime of passion is indicated by a red ball, which is frequently not visible until at least an hour before. It is done because of the absence of premeditation. The victim or victims, the offender, the precise day and time of the crime, and the precise course of events leading up to the crime are the only three elements that the precogs can anticipate. The pre-crime task team, directed by Tom Cruise's character John Anderton, is tasked with performing a rigorous process known as scrubbing because they are unable to determine the exact location of the crime, where they analyze the visuals generated by the precogs' visions to find telltale signs and subsequently pinpoint the place. When they are positive of the location, the squad takes off in a specially designed aircraft to foil the criminal activity. The offender is then apprehended by haloing them, which involves placing a gadget around their head to completely incapacitate them. Anderton's team solves an early morning red ball case in the first scene of the film. The culprit, a guy in his 40s by the name of Howard Marks, will find his wife Sarah in bed with another man, Donald Dubin, in precisely 24 hours. Howard will use a pair of scissors to stab them both to death, if he finds them together. While Anderton goes through the pictures, Danny Whitwer, played by Colin Farrell, a representative of the Justice Department, shows up. He has been sent to evaluate the pre-crime system in advance of a congressional vote on whether or not to implement it nationally. Anderton continues to analyze the vision while Whitwer is given an explanation of the fundamentals of the system by one of his colleagues, Fletcher. After a short while, John locates the place and heads there with several other pre-crime officers, dropping Whitwer off at pre-crime headquarters. In the final moments, Anderton and his associates locate the house and avert Howard's vision before the precog is able to materialize. An iris scan is used to identify Howard, who is then quickly haloed and arrested, while his wife and her lover receive instant treatment from a trauma response team. The murder resurfaces on the screens back at headquarters following the suspect's capture. When Whitwer notices these and asks a technician about them, she learns that the precogs occasionally see these echo images before they are removed from the system following a crime that has been stopped. That evening, Anderton looks back at home videos of his late wife Lar, played by Catherine Morris, and their son, who was 6 years old when he vanished at a public pool a few years prior. Additionally, it is revealed that Anderton is addicted to the illicit inhaled hallucinogen known as new Roin-like, new heroin. Whitwer's official tour of the pre-crime offices starts early the following morning. Whitwer notes that there may be ethical concerns with the precogs during the tour because of the nature of premeditation, and the fact that the precogs see what the killer will do rather than what they intend to do. Anderton and his colleagues explain, the system is practically foolproof. This is why they don't get false alarms caused by people who contemplate murder but will never actually go through with it. Anderton enters the room at Whitwer's request, where the precogs are connected to the pre-crime computer system and kept semi-conscious in a pool of fluid resembling amniotic fluid. Whitwer is still certain that there are flaws in the program, despite the fact that he is fairly impressed by what he has seen and that there haven't been any killings in Washington, D.C. since the program began. Following Whitwer's departure, Samantha Morton's precog Agatha becomes fully conscious and video screens depicting a woman being slaughtered appear throughout the chamber. Anderton visits containment, where a large number of other haled pre-crime attackers are detained, out of curiosity about these pictures. Anderton locates the attacker, who is in Agatha's purview with the help of a supervisor named Gideon, played by Tim Blake Nelson, but he is labeled as a John Doe since He replaced his eyes with someone else's in order to trick the identification sensors. When Gideon tries to obtain further case information, he discovers that Agatha's purvis is absent from the three precogs. Furthermore, there is no information available regarding the whereabouts of the alleged victim, and Lively. The computer's only information about her is that she was a single mother and a Neuroin addict, yet, documents show that she sought treatment for her addiction at a rehabilitation facility. After Anderton presents his research to Lamar Burgess, the director of pre-crime played by Max von Sydow, he is advised to abandon the investigation. He shifted his focus to the idea that they would need to come up with a strategy to shield pre-crime from more powerful forces, once it became a national movement. Anderton promises his mentor that he will prevent such from occurring. Anderton gets a call about a planned murder that is scheduled to happen in 36 hours when he gets back to his office. Leo Crow has already been recognized as the victim, but the name of the culprit is still unknown. Anderton is shocked to learn that he is the one who carried out the crime as soon as he starts going over the data. When Anderton runs into Whitwer in the elevator while trying to leave the building before his co-workers find out, John believes that Whitwer is baiting him. But when the building's alarm goes off, Anderton bolts from the elevator and out of the structure. Officers from pre-crime quickly locate John. Whitwer and a few officers find him, when he manages to get away from them. The party follows Anderton into an automated auto manufacturing plant, where he flees in a freshly constructed automobile and survives. He travels to the home of Dr. Iris Heineman played by Lois Smith, whose studies established the foundation for the pre-crime program after learning that certain offspring of Neuroin addicts had acquired the talent of foretelling future homicides. He travels to the home of Dr. Iris Heineman played by Lois Smith, whose studies established the foundation for the pre-crime program after learning that certain offspring of Neuroin addicts had acquired the talent of foretelling future homicides. The three precogs do not always agree on their predictions of the future, according to Heineman, who is rather eccentric but yet logical. In these situations, the precog that differs the most from the others is usually disregarded. Anderton needs to find out if he has a minority report that will clear his record in order to prove his innocence. Heineman explains to Anderton that Agatha is the most talented of the three precogs and answers his question about which one would provide a minority report. Anderton gets an eye transplant from a dubious doctor because everyone is always getting their iris scanned. The surgeon is really one of John's former patients, whom he exposed for carrying out dubious surgery. Still, the surgeon proceeds with the treatment, leaving John on his own to heal. As he recuperates from the operation, he dreams of the day his son was kidnapped from a swimming pool and wakes up to see the pre-crime team looking for him inside the building. The rooms are equipped with tiny robotic eye scanners called spiders. One of the spiders locates Anderton and scans his iris. However, the surgery was successful, and he is left unidentified. Anderton, disguising himself and going back to the pre-crime offices, takes Agatha out of the precog's chamber, upsetting the trio's collective unconscious that keeps the system functioning. He brings her to one of his friends, who is a hacker, and he manages to get her vision of Crow's murder out for Anderton to view. Anderton understands he lacks a minority report when the vision remains consistent with what he had previously seen. Abruptly, Agatha starts having seizures, and the scene of Anne Lively drowning appears once more. While Anderton observes the vision, his companion notifies him of the presence of pre-crime officers nearby. By using the strategic intelligence that Agatha, who has the ability to foretell the near future, provides, she and Anderton manage to avoid being caught by Anderton's squad. After locating Crow's address, Anderton enters his residence. Although Crow isn't there, he discovers a ton of pictures of kids, among them his son who went missing. Anderton, who now believes that Crow is responsible for the kidnapping, decides to assassinate Crow after realizing there is no minority report in his case. Agatha begs Anderton not to kill this man, but when Crow walks in, Anderton hits him to get a confession. Until the timer on his watch goes off, the moment when the murder is intended to occur, Anderton remains blind to her pleadings and plans to kill Crow. After giving in, Anderton starts reading Crow his Miranda rights. Crow discloses that the photos were altered and sent to him to place in the apartment in order to create the exact scenario that is happening now. Crow takes hold of Anderton's pistol hand, points the weapon at himself, and pulls the trigger in order to force Anderton to kill him in order to fulfill his promise to his family to receive money. Whitwer and the pre-crime team show up to the crime scene to look into it after Anderton and Agatha leave. Whitwer expresses doubts over the orgy of evidence that was overlooked and subsequently shares his concerns with Burgess, bringing up the Lively case in the process. Now that he has all three of the precogs' records of the murder, he can piece together what actually transpired that day based on a few minor variations between them. Whitwer presents Burgess with the containment plans, but she also gives him Agatha's, which wasn't on file. Agatha's vision reveals a significant discrepancy, which led Whitwer to hypothesize that Anne Lively was the victim of two separate crimes. Whitwer offers his theory, when Burgess questions him. Based on the similar visions of Arthur and Dashiell, the prospective killer of Anne Lively was apprehended. However, just as Pre-Crime was about to remove the guy, another individual, disguised to resemble the potential killer, showed up and murdered her in precisely the same way. The precog text would simply overlook the act Agatha viewed because of the similarities of the instances, believing it to be a echo-vision. After Whitwer makes the claim that only a pre-crime member could be skilled enough to manipulate the system in this way, Burgess shoots and murders Whitwer, exposing himself as the real mastermind behind John's framing. Burgess knows that without Agatha, the other precogs are unable to stop this murder from happening. Lara phones Burgess shortly after the murder to let him know that Agatha and John are staying with her. Agatha offers a picture of what could have happened if their boy had lived with John and Lara while she unwinds in the serene surroundings of Lara's house. John has been considering Anne Lively over this period and concludes that she is Agatha's mother. But before long, Pre-Crime takes over the home, haloing John and sending Agatha back to the precog's room. Later, in an effort to console Lara, Burgess meets with her before heading to a ceremony to mark the beginning of the pre-crime program countrywide. Lara brings up Anne Lively during this period, something Burgess says he is unaware of. But he says he'll ask Gideon in the containment cell if any woman by that name has ever been drowned. Lara becomes skeptical when he mentions the cause of death, which she kept a secret from Burgess. When Lara discovers Burgess is lying, she quickly returns to precog headquarters and orders Gideon to free Anderton. After he leaves, Anderton calls Burgess to tell him he has perfected his entire murdering strategy. Agatha was the most powerful of the three precogs, allowing the program to go on in large part. But Anne Lively, her mother, overcame her addiction to New Rouen and desired her daughter's return. Lamar set up the murder attempt by the John Doe Anderton observed in containment, knowing that this would divert attention from the show. After the suspect was captured by Pre-Crime, Burgess showed up to Anne and, wearing a disguise resembling the suspect's, killed Anne in a manner that the precogs could see. However, since Pre-Crime had captured a suspect, it was thought that Agatha's account of her mother's passing was merely an echo. Anne Lively was thus erased from the image, and she was reduced to simply another missing person. The precogs discover a fresh Red Ball murder, with Burgess as the offender and Anderton as the victim, while Lamar and John are still speaking. Burgess hunts for Anderton with an old handgun that was given to him as a present, realizing that he must be nearby. When the two men finally meet, Anderton notes that Lamar is stuck in a situation where, should Burgess kill him, he would be able to establish that pre-crime is effective, but he would also face life in prison. The pre-crime system is shown to be unreliable if he doesn't fire. Burgess finds a third way out of the conundrum: killing himself. The pre-crime program is promptly discontinued because it was discovered to be manipulated and hence defective. All of the criminals convicted under it receive prompt pardons and are freed from prison, but many of them are monitored for years by their local police departments. After Anderton makes amends with Lara, who is now expecting their second child, the precogs are sent to a quiet, isolated